Hello and welcome to this very special event. This is in the lead up to the March 5th fantastic fight between Claressa Shields and Marie-Eve Dickory. The WBC with WBC Talks, and she is actually very happy and honored to host this event. And with us, none other than WBC President Mauricio Sulaiman. Mauricio?
Hello, Claudia. Hello, friends. I am so honored to be among the power of women. You all have made so many great things to make women in sports be on top of the world. The WBC designated 2021 as a year of boxing, and we are celebrating precisely Claressa Shields turning professional 5 years since she did so after winning 2 Olympic gold medals. She's one of the greatest champions. She's believed to be the greatest of them all. She's still constructing her legacy, and come March 5th, she's going to have a great test trying to make history again. The COVID-19 pandemic hit the world of sports, hit this boxing, but most importantly, women's boxing has been hurt the most. There is no platforms, there is no opportunities, but now we have someone who has taken destiny into her hands. She's going to prove that the power of women, when they go into the ring, will shake this world for the benefit of so many other fighters who do not have that opportunity. We're so thankful to She Is, the platform and the way they promote the great destiny of the sport, taking control of your own destiny. That's what Claressa and Marie Dickory are doing, and Mark Taffet and the promoters and Dimitri. This is why the WBC is so proud of this great sport. But now to see someone putting everything on the table with no guarantee, making everything to prove that they have the right to have a platform, to have a world looking at them. Let's join this great panel. Let's celebrate the power of women and remember that you can take your own destiny into your hands. You are very grateful, and we're just joining this great moment in the sports, and we will remember March 5th as one of the turning points of women's boxing. Thank you so much, and I just cannot wait to see what is going to happen in this panel. I'm very happy, and Claudia, you're the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Mauricio. It's always a pleasure. And this program is sponsored by Cure and Parity and produced by WBC Talks in partnership with She Is, a global organization dedicated to using the power of women's sports to create a future of, by, and for very strong women. During this special panel, we'll be having much needed conversation with athletes, commissioners, and owners who have taken control of their own destiny, not only opening doors for themselves, but also for the future generations. I am Claudia Trejos, and I am pleased to guide this conversation about blazing your own trail in a time of uncertainty. In the current landscape of sports, nothing is guaranteed. In Claressa's sport of boxing, many fighters' careers have been put on hold due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Still, countless women and the leagues they play in have found a way to continue to compete, achieve their goals, and inspire their fans across the world. Our roundtable for this afternoon spans many sports and several generations of athletes. And let me do some quick introductions, very well deserved. First off, she is one of the most accomplished combat sports athletes of all times. She is one of only 8 fighters in history to hold all 4 major titles in boxing, and will be taking on Marie-Eve Dickory on March 5th. Please welcome Claressa Shields. Next, another groundbreaking athlete, an auto racing innovator who is a former driver and current team owner, Jackie Heinricher.
Hey, great to be here. Thrilled to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you here, Jackie. And now, she was the first woman to win the Rawlings Golden Glove Award thanks to her stellar play in women's pro softball. It's time to welcome none other than AJ Andrews. AJ?
Hello, thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you here. And finally, we welcome Odessa Jenkins, Chief Executive Officer of the Women's National Football Conference, a 20-team women's tackle football league that is providing unprecedented opportunities for women in tackle football. Odessa?
Claudia, thank you so much for having us. I'm so excited to be here, especially with the champ. Great to see you, champ.
Same. Nice to you too.
Well, thank you one and all for joining us today. Our panelists come from diverse backgrounds of sports and experiences, but all of them have made their own way in this industry. As a quick introduction, could we get a quick comment from each and every one of you in the panel? And when I say the phrase, taking control of your own destiny, what does that mean to you? So I'm going to start with you, Clarissa.
Taking your career into your own destiny means to me, just taking a risk, not waiting on anybody to give you an opportunity, but taking the opportunity. Instead of waiting on somebody to give you the key to unlock the door, kick the door down. And that's what I'm doing on March 5th with the pay-per-view card, the all-women pay-per-view card. I think it's a great start for women's boxing. And I feel like it'll be a start to where women will stop waiting on the networks who want to put us last. We will quit waiting on them, and we'll, start fighting against each other, put our belts on the line, and continue to build our fan base together. And that's how we can do it. But we have to, step out on faith a little bit, because we really don't know what's going to happen. But that's what happens when you take your career into your own hands and make your own path.
I can see that and I can understand that, but I'm going to go a little deeper. You're going back to Flint, Michigan. This is your hometown. What does this mean to you? How important is it for your community to see you making those kinds of moves?
It's just always important for me to be a role model just for the kids who growing up in Flint. Right now, everybody knows that I wear my hair blue for the Flint water crisis. We haven't had clean water in almost 7 years. A lot of my family, my friends still live in Flint, but it's like a city of resilience. Like, you just can't break Flint people. So them to be able to see me doing what I'm doing, fight pay-per-view, winning world title belts, just showing them that they can do whatever that they want to do, regardless of us all being from Flint. Like, just because you're from Flint doesn't mean that you can't make it out of the hard streets and make something of your life. So that's why it's very important to me to fight at home, and also just to bring more awareness to the Flint water crisis.
Clarissa, you've already been titled as the greatest woman of all times. How much responsibility does that title carry? There's obviously not that many of that type of titled women in sports in general, let alone in boxing. Talk to me about the responsibility to bear that type of title.
It's a lot to bear, to be honest. Like, I think people look at me and how I speak and how confident I am, and they think, oh, it's just easy. She's just confident. She doesn't have any worries. But it's a lot to bear, because I have to worry about things besides fighting. I have to worry about my branding. I have to worry about being in shape. I have to worry about performing. I have to worry about making sure I'm pushing the fight and we get the biggest pay-per-view sales and we get great numbers. And on top of that, I have to go out there and overperform every night, because if I have a bad night, they'll say that, look at how the greatest woman of all time fights. Women's boxing isn't nothing. So I have a lot on my plate every fight, all the time, every day in camp. So it can get hard sometimes, but I just kind of carry it, because, if I can't do it, then it just can't be done, personally.
Speaking about taking matters into your own hands, Jackie, it's time to talk about you, because you have the experience in the industry as both an athlete, as an executive, as a founder of Heinricher Racing, and you've said it before, which was phenomenal. The card can't really tell the difference between a female or a male, but the next generation of women can. How important is it for this next generation of women drivers, women athletes in general, to see other women not just participate, but do exactly what Clarissa's doing, what you're doing, which is take ownership of their destiny, just the way you both have done it? How is that for you with your race team?
Well, first of all, everything Clarissa said just resonates with me so much, because I'm in a sport that is just a extremely challenging sport. It's incredibly male dominated. On top of all of the issues with as Clarissa was saying, viewership or just getting anybody to pay attention. And so it's an epic challenge, but it's one of the most important things I've done in my entire professional career. I think, you know, if I can find a way to help shatter, you know, this paradigm shift where, you know, with She Is and everybody involved, and we can somehow begin to get these companies to recognize that we are equal and that we have the same drive and we're as good in these sports as anybody and we have as much value as anybody, and that actual equality exists. I mean, these are really important things to me, but this road is not easy. I mean, in my sport, 49% of the viewership are women, yet less than 3% of the marketing dollars go towards that group, our group. So it's been, I have to say, it's been challenging. It's been frustrating. It's been rewarding. But I think, you know, perseverance is probably the most underrated human quality, but it constantly amazes me how hard we have to fight just to get any measure of, you know, this sort of, the same sort of viewership, attention, and dollars towards our efforts. And that to me is why it's so important for us to be doing what we're doing. I can't wait to watch Clarissa's fight. I mean, these things are so important. You can't be what you can't see. And so for me, I really want to continue to drive this forward, regardless of how many doors. I mean, just like Clarissa, I mean, I'm doing one of the biggest things in the sport of racing, and the number of doors that slam is profound, because it's history making and all of us are groundbreaking. So, you know, I'm just determined to try to lend my executive weight, my experience as a racer, to transforming what this whole picture looks like.
And just expanding on the topic of ownership, I would like to hear from another member of our panel, Odessa Jenkins. You're the executive officer of the Women's National Football Conference. You're a member of a generation where women are becoming coaches and executives, obviously at a much greater rate than we had ever seen before. And I understand and I see there's still a lot more work to be done. But for the first time, real progress, really, real progress can be seen. How does it feel for you to be part of this new wave?
You know, it feels amazing to see, because I think what Jackie said, it's hard for anyone to be what they can't see, to imagine it, right? You have to sort of reimagine the thing if it's not in front of your face. So the idea that there are women making global news playing football in college, or women making global news being the first to coach at a position in the NFL or the college or high school level, it's an epic time. But I think that for me, as a person who is in the business of women playing women's tackle football, I think I echo with what Clarissa and what Jackie said about the value of women's sports and women playing women's sports and competing against each other is just as valuable as when they're competing in men's sports. For what we're doing with the WNFC, I believe in propelling the value of a woman coaching women in football just as much as we celebrate and give accolades to someone coaching men in men's football. And so to your point about taking your power into your own hands, you know, what we're doing is looking brands in the face and making them answer to us to say, this is the most popular sport in the country where women control 65% plus of the buying power. Women have been playing tackle football for 100+ years, and girls are playing football at 300% rate higher than boys. We're playing, we're buying it, and we're playing against each other. So it's time for brands to step up to the plate, and to the champ's point, for cameras to point our way. And I don't think equality happens with charity. I think charity is awesome, But I think you have to put some of your own investment in. You have to put some of your own skin in the game, and you have to take a chance on yourself. And that's what we're doing with the WNSC for the first time in 100 years.
I'm so excited. That is fascinating. Just to see the growth of the sport itself and the opportunity opened for young ladies that have nowhere else to go. Once college is done, they have nowhere else to go. And talking about precisely a couple members, obviously still active in competition, AJ and Clarissa, both of you are spectacular athletes and have very important accomplishments in common. AJ was the first woman to win the Rawlings Gold Glove Award. This was in 2016. And Clarissa was the first American woman to win a gold medal. This was in the Olympic Games in 2012. So now I have a question for both of you ladies. To you, what does it mean to be not just part of your sports history, but history in general in sports? And I'm going to start with AJ, that I am going to be so excited to hear this because this was a historical moment when you got that award.
Yeah, and I think to echo what everyone's been talking about creating your own history, for me, being able to win the Rawlings Gold Glove Award was writing that history, writing exactly what it was my legacy was going to be, but also creating opportunities for young athletes, young women to write theirs as well. Before I won the Gold Glove, it was not a dream or a vision for a young softball player to say, I want to be a Rawlings Gold Glove winner, right? That was only a lane for men until that lane or that barrier had been broken. And so I take so much pride in, of course, winning the award because of my achievements, then being recognized, which women in sports, we don't get recognized as much as we should. So being able to have that honor was amazing. But the long term, or what I really feel like was the most important to me, is the opportunities that really gained. I feel like in all of us, for all of our sports, being able to knock down one barrier just leads to more doors that are waiting to be broken down as well, right? Clarissa is doing that same to now where pay-per-view. I've gone and watched games or watched matches, but I've never paid. I'm going to pay to watch Clarissa. And you know what I mean? Like these are things that are, this is how you keep moving forward, and how you support women in sports, and how you see, now I'm seeing Clarissa doing this, I'm seeing Odessa making these moves for football players, I'm seeing Jackie having all these moves for her team. It is empowering me to feel like, okay, well, maybe I can go start my own league. Maybe I can do this, right? It doesn't have to be in that one sport that you are inspiring those individuals to break those barriers and do more. And, you know, I think back to creating your own destiny, it's creating our own narrative as women in sports. If they're not going to give us those platforms, they're not going to put us on TV, we're going to force their hand. I deserve to be watched. People want to watch me. And if you're not going to make that happen, I will make it happen myself. And in the end, they're going to come crawling. Okay, well, let's do this. Let's do that. And I think the best example that we've seen, or a really good example, is the WNBA, right? Women's sports, we have not been on, we have 4%, 3 to 4% of women's sports are televised. The WNBA with their orange hoodies had created a movement to where they're now forcing people to want to put the WNBA on TV, because everyone has surrounded that movement saying, we want to support these women, allow us to do that. And I think that through my accomplishments, through Clarissa's accomplishments, we are continuing to move that needle, continuing to create our own narrative and forcing individuals to tell it.
I am so excited to see this. I am so excited and honored to share this panel with you guys. And in Clarissa's case, just so we can expand on the concept of women making history, Clarissa is only one of 4 fighters in Olympic history to get 2 back-to-back gold medals. The other ones were Laszlo Papp, Teófilo Stevenson, and obviously Felix Savon and Clarissa. The first female, the first fighter from the US to get 2 gold medals back-to-back. What does that mean to you, Clarissa?
I mean, just going to the Olympics was, I think 2012 was a dream of mine. And it was something that I had never seen before. There wasn't another woman Olympic gold medalist before me. It was just all men. So it was like, I want to be an Olympic gold medalist. Is it even possible? So going and doing that when I was 17, I was able to get that done. And then people were saying, you know, no American has ever went back to the Olympics 2 times and been able to win 2 Olympic gold medals. So now I'm going to do something that's impossible, right? And I made it possible because I came home in 2016 with an Olympic gold medal. Mm-hmm. And I felt like as I was doing this, it was the scariest time of my life, but it was the most exciting, but it was scary. I didn't want to fail, and I felt like the more that I accomplished, I could do more in the professional. So after 2016, 2 Olympic gold medals later, I turned professional.
For AJ, after you got your Gold Glove award, how did this change your athletic career in terms of platform?
Yeah, it definitely elevated my platform because it just gave more opportunity or gave more spotlight to the achievements that women in softball were doing, and just the fact that it was not being recognized before, right? You give this Gold Glove award, it's like, well, why now? Why hasn't this been done before?
Mm-hmm.
And, I think for me, after that, I was able to be in the Body Issue, ESPN Body Issue. And again, that was the first time in 10 years that a softball player had been in the Body Issue. And so it just continued this line of effects to where this should be happening. We shouldn't wait for this to happen, or it shouldn't take this long, right? These movements need to continue to move forward. And I think for my platform, it felt like it gave me more of a responsibility to tell my story. It gave me more of a responsibility to allow young girls to see what it is I'm doing, using social media to encourage and to motivate, in order to make sure people understand that this platform that I have been given is not going to be used in vain. This is something that I want you to know that you can have as well. And even though softball isn't given this attention, right, you can give yourself that attention, make yourself be known, make yourself be seen, so that you can be recognized for your achievements, whether it's a Gold Glove or something else. And, I think that leading through that with winning the Gold Glove, it just really pushed the narrative and the meaning that impossible is not a declaration, it's simply a dare. And if you dare to dream, if you dare to achieve your goals, you dare to break whatever barrier that's set in front of you, nothing, not even a man, can stop you from your achievements.
Very well put. Historical moments. And of course, we're going to talk about this historical moment that's coming up on March 5th when Clarissa is taking on Marie-Eve Dickory. And this hasn't happened since Layla Ali did it back in 2001 to be the headline of a pay-per-view. How important is it to have that spot in a pay-per-view, Clarissa?
It's very important. And you know what? I know me and Layla Ali have had our words back and forth, she's the greatest, I'm the greatest, and all this stuff. But I will say, like, back in 2001, when she fought against Jackie Frazier, and they had 100,000 pay-per-view buys, right?
Mm-hmm.
It would be great if we could take those 100,000 pay-per-view buys that were back then and continue to build off of that with the other women. Instead of going 20 years without women being on pay-per-view, like maybe the numbers would be 1 million by now if they would have just continued to fight. I mean, I feel like back then 100,000 pay-per-view buys was great. 2001, I think that was a great start, but that's why now I'm not going to let the numbers discourage me. I know I'm going to go out there and overperform, but whatever the numbers are, I want to build off of that in the years to come. So when the girls who fight 20 years from now, when they fight pay-per-view, they'll be able to take whatever number that I started with, whatever number that I built off of, they'll be able to take that fan base, because I'm going to say, hey, to all my fans who stood by me when I was professional, hey, look, I'm done, but we have other young girls coming up who are fighting on pay-per-view, and women's boxing is not dead. So I just really, those are numbers that I have, but I just think that being pay-per-view main event just shows the world, like, wow, women pay-per-view fighters, like, are they, it makes them question if we're really that important. And just the answer to the question is yes, we are.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree that ladies usually have absolutely no space for mistakes, for errors, for a bad day at the office. But the one thing that we do have is a lot of inspiration based on you ladies that have done so much for your different disciplines. But I'm going to take this moment to figure out who inspired you. And I'm going to start with Jackie, just because it's one of those sports that we thought Danica Patrick was it. And that's as good as it got. And then slowly but surely, now we have different waves. And she herself found inspiration, not necessarily in ladies. So I want to know who inspired you to do what you do and move forward in the world of auto racing.
Well, I would change that a little bit by saying who gave me the confidence to believe in myself enough to even take this kind of risk. But it's my father, and he is an extraordinary human being, and he, even from a young age, growing up in Cupertino, California, he worked for Shell Oil. This was way before One Infinity Circle, but he was always, I never felt a boundary. I never even thought about a boundary. And I reflect on that a lot because, there's not a lot of support from the racing side. There's a lot, I think, in a lot of times, I just think that whether it's a corporate executive, a team owner, I think there are times when people just don't know that they're doing what they're doing, right? They're consciously telling you how great things are, but unconsciously they're discriminating against you. And so I really feel like because, and I've done a lot of things as I reflect on my life. I was in the military before a lot of women were in the military. I am the CEO of my own biotech company when women were not scientists. And as I reflect kind of on my path, I would say that there's this influence that I had that just allowed me to be and not think about it. As I've come up to this role as team owner, it's saddened me because it's made me reflect now on being a woman. And it's made me have to face the challenges, the real true challenges of the position I'm in to try to get to where I want to go. If I look at the collective amazing talent around me on this panel, it just blows my mind, because if corporate America could stop being afraid of their own shadow and recognize how important all of this is, these are the kinds of things that as a woman I want to see, I want to be inspired by. And so I'm just thrilled to try to take this chance. And again, I'll take that all back to my father, who was incredibly supportive and inspiring.
Brilliant. What about you, Odessa? Why don't you share with us who inspired to make this shift?
Yeah, for me, it was kind of a situation and not necessarily a person. It happened in 2017. I was lucky enough to be selected for the Bill Walsh diversity internship for the NFL. And I was sitting in the locker room with Devontae Freeman, who at the time was a running back for the Atlanta Falcons. And he had just signed the most lucrative running back contract in the history of the NFL. And I was also a world champion. My Team USA, who is the only Team USA undefeated team in the history of the US, the women's world women's tackle football team. And we had just come off of winning a gold medal in the Worlds. And my team that I own had just won a national title. And I was sitting in an NFL locker room as an assistant coach, and I was supposed to be on top of the world. And I had done all these things and nobody knew who we were. Nobody knew who my teammates were. Nobody had awarded us anything. I won't even say given us anything. Nobody awarded us anything. Nobody knew who we were. I'd won at every level. And that was the moment Devontae Freeman actually said, "Hey, coach, I want to go to the locker room real quick and pick up some hoodies. You want something?" And it just, this guy who hadn't even started a season, and I was sitting there with a world title, a national title, and I hadn't even been given a hoodie. And that is when I looked back at Team USA teammates. I looked back at the team, my Texas Elite team, and I looked at my US national team and I said, I will no longer sit on the sidelines, and I'm gonna be a part of the solution for creating professionalism in our sport. And so I'm inspired by a lot of people, but that was the situation that changed it for me.
Nobody puts baby in a corner. Nobody puts baby in a
Nobody.
corner. Nobody. What about you, AJ? Historical event, you get awarded, but all that effort, what was inspiring behind that? What was the motivation to get there?
Yeah, I mean, I think the motivation for me, it kind of exceeds past winning the Gold Glove Award, just because I had never set out to win a Gold Glove Award. I didn't know I was going to be winning that year. I just knew I don't like people getting on base, and I like robbing hits, so I was just playing my game and ended up getting the award. But I think playing in a sport that's predominantly white, for me, who inspired me was Serena Williams, Venus Williams, and then Natasha Watley. She was an Olympian in softball and truly the only Black softball player that I had to look to be inspired and to feel like I can too become her and more. And then with Serena and Venus Williams, just how unapologetic they were, wearing the braids, wearing the beads out on the court. It allowed me to be proud of my Blackness and not feel like, and just know that I am worthy, I am valuable, not in spite of my dark skin, but because of it. And that using that and allowing that to elevate me and to continue to help elevate other young women, especially young Black women. That's something that motivates me every single day, and why it is that, winning the Gold Glove, I'm extremely ecstatic for, but more so in the fact that now I have the opportunity to have a higher platform to continue to elevate those voices and make people feel welcome, motivated, and inspired.
Ladies, this is, for somebody that's been around sports for so long, this is definitely more inspirational than a lot of the chats that we get a chance to see from all the champions. But the truth of the matter is, you guys are there in a position to open doors, not just for yourselves, to create opportunities for yourself to see your disciplines grow, but for the next generation. I'm going to ask every single one of you if that was actually part of the plan to open doors for those coming behind us. And I'm going to start with Jackie.
Well, for sure. I was racing, and one of the things that caught my attention as a business owner, I was seeing my heroes in racing not get renewed or get the money they needed, and having to leave the country or not being on the grid in racing, and I mean, even if you look at IndyCar, there are no, women racing. And so it sort of struck me that I wanted to shift gears, if you will, and take a different position and try to help women not only get the kind of funding they need, but also to try to lead a major league team so that those women have an opportunity to be called up, because they don't get called up. They get to very low level places, but they don't get to those big seats in racing. And in 2019, I was able to field the top women drivers from 4 different countries to take on the top racing series in its 50-year history. And so I'm just trying to continue to shatter this sort of sport that really, again, the car doesn't know if you're a man or a woman. And I think it's really important to have not just the drivers, the women drivers coming up, but that they have an equal opportunity to get into the big league like Formula One, but that we can have women owners in this sport, because doesn't happen. So it's really important to me.
And Clarissa, you're definitely taking your own destiny in your own hands. And we understand your motivation after coming out of the Olympics and trying to make the same segue in boxing. How much was it? How much at play was it to keep that door open for that next generation that's coming, for the ladies that will be participating in the upcoming Olympics and the future generations?
Well, I think that representation is everything. And coming up, when I was in the amateurs, I didn't have a female athlete who I look up to, a female boxer. Just like AJ, I looked up to Serena Williams, Venus Williams, and Muhammad Ali. Those were my inspirations. That was Muhammad Ali, when I first heard him say, I'm the greatest of all time, I shocked the world. And just to hear some of his rhymes and how confident he was, I believe the first time that I ever called myself pretty was when I was like 12, and I was watching Muhammad Ali's documentary where Will Smith played him so well that I thought Will Smith was really Muhammad Ali. But when he said, I'm Black and I'm pretty, I just reiterated that to myself, and I was like, I'm Black and I'm pretty. And it was like I had to build that confidence in myself to actually say it and actually mean it, because I didn't really feel that at the time. And then to see how great and how dedicated he was to the sport was just like, wow. And I got to throw some Beyonce in there, because I feel like she's just fierce. So it's not that, the representation is just being a great boxer, but I had great representation of just being a great, Beyonce being a great entertainer, a great performer, and actually giving everything to her craft. Serena Williams being dark skinned and being muscular and being powerful and also being loud, just kind of showed me that in order to get what I want in my sport, I would have to one day step up and do that. And I love to see her in her commercials and her endorsement deals and everything. And I kind of just, at a young age, I envision myself as her, but just in the sport of boxing. And that's kind of what I've been doing. And the Olympics was a great start. I showed the girls that we can go to the Olympics. So now a lot of the women know that they can go to the Olympics and win gold medals, but now they're like, what can we do after that? And I've showed the girls that we can fight main event on networks. We can fight co-main events. We can fight for world title belts. We can make history. Now, the level that we step up to now is women can fight pay-per-view when it's the right fights and you have the right opponent, and you build your audience. And something that I've been very big on all the girls who I'm close with is you guys need to build your brand, and we need to get behind each other and help build each other's brand. And now that I'm sitting here with all these different athletes, I'm sitting here with AJ, Odessa, and Jackie, I feel like something that women's sports is lacking is that we don't come out for each other. Like, I would love to know when Jackie is having an event and come and show my face and bring the people that I know and share on my social media. I love to come see AJ and be in a crowd cheering for her with her little face on a little stick. I love to come see Odessa, coach her football team, and me and her take a picture together, or me go out on the field and let's do a 100-yard dash and see who's faster and post it, because we have to realize that, yes, we're all athletes, but we're all women first.
Odessa, when you have a 20-team league, how did you think about the opportunities that you were presenting to this whole new generation coming behind us?
Yeah, mine isn't as complicated. I think I did it for the people I love, like my friends, like the football was taking a turn, and what Sam Rappaport is doing, shout out to her in the NFL and diversity, inclusion, all this stuff. I started to see some of the best talent in the women's sport start to come out of the sport, because we were all working full-time jobs to be able to finance women's tackle football. In order to go to the nationals, you have to pay. In order to play your season, you'd have to fundraise. And so for me, I think in order for the sport to truly survive, we had to do this. We had to develop a corporation and invest in it and do things like this. And I think, to your point, Clarissa, like what she is doing with the collective and bringing all of these leagues together and meeting people like Jackie. I'm like, Jackie, you need to own a team in the WNFC. Like, let's get it popping. I think that's how that idea is what's in the mind, not so much about the girls coming after, because I think once you open the doors open, girls are not going to stop playing sports. Yes. They've already found it. It is not, there's no secret thing that's going to happen, and girls are going to forget that football, basketball, and track and boxing and softball is out there. So I think that door is already open. To me, it's more about, to your point, once Layla had the 100K, what happened next? Once we have the stage, what do we do with the stage? And that's what I want to see changed, is once we have the stage, never let it go. To your point, 100 needs to be 100.
It leads to the next topic of paramount importance. And I'm going to start with the active players. That would be AJ and Clarissa, because I want to get the administrative point of view later on. But from your standpoint, when you're playing, when you're fighting, when you're in the midst of the action, what do you see needs to be done in order to, you know, expand this movement, to make things better and open more opportunities for these young athletes? And I'm going to start with you, AJ.
Yeah, I think Clarissa touched on it earlier, the marketing, right? You have to market us and market us well. People want to see what it is that we're doing, but also the players have to be willing to be marketed. You know, I think a lot of the time, sometimes players are a little restricted or they don't offer as much of their time. And we have to, if we want to see things grow, we have to continue to make this collaborative. But again, the organizations, the media companies, whatever it is, we need to market what we're doing, our sport, leading up to the fight, leading up to the game, how it is we're preparing. Young kids that want to be in our position want to know that. They want to know. People that don't play softball, have never played a sport, ask me all the time, what is it? What I eat? What is my meal plan, right? People are engaged and want to know what it is that we're doing. So I think that in order, while I'm on the field, I want that really cool, vivid imagery, but it has to be good. I think Odessa touched on this. It needs to be good. It needs to be very high quality and allow people to remain engaged the entire time. And so upping the quality of the marketing, how we're being marketed, the way that we're framing us in the media. You know, I think it's so interesting when you hear men, right? Men are always projected as these beings that are more than human, right? You have all these nicknames. Deion Sanders has nicknames, the mailman. You know, you have all these people that get these images of something that's bigger and better. Women deserve that too, right? We need to have these names that attach to us or just whatever it is that we're accomplishing. And, you know, I think for so long society has tried to make us women and just be very womanly and feminine. And I think we need to say, no, this is what I do. I make diving catches, call me Superwoman, right? Like and that's my name and moving forward and whatever it is. But I think that the way that we're marketed is really important to continue to allow people to see us, wanting to see us, and following our journey through that to see how successful that we are.
What needs to be done? What steps need to be taken in order to open opportunities for women in executive positions in sports? I was just looking up, I don't know if you guys are aware, Kim, and she just became the first general manager in baseball history. And it's perhaps the one organized league, the oldest organized league that we have in the US. And to have the first woman involved at that position, it obviously it's elating, but it's also sad. What needs to happen to make that change, Jackie?
God, a million things going through my mind right now. I mean, look, this comes down to financial support. I mean,
True.
I mean, what? I joked in the New York Times that I thought by now my car would be covered in Tampax and Mazengil and a million other female products. And in fact, that isn't the case. And so it's a very strange thing, because I think you have so many excuses going on from the corporate side. You know, it's not our demographic, it's not this, it's not that, but you know, we are your demographic, and we're probably your most powerful demographic. And it all comes down to money. And I will say this, to your point, Clarissa, I think we need to support each other. We need to really start, I've had this thought for a long time because it's so important to me, but I think all of you need to come with me to the Indy 500 and stand with me and field this car with me, because it's so important to me that we understand why these things make us better people and why we are together in this fight to make it a better world for the people coming behind us.
I'm in. I'm in.
I'm there.
I'm in.
Awesome.
Long as long as you don't go too fast. I really can't do fast race cars and everything. Like, I don't do roller coasters.
I just need to stand by her.
So my driver is going to be the one going fast, the great Catherine Legg, but we'll all be like standing up in the box right on.
Oh, that's great.
I just want to, for once, I want to change a lug nut. That's all I want. I just want that power of zzz, that's all I need to do, and it'll be my day. But anyway, let's move on because 2020 was a year that will change how we will view sports forever. Many of the major leagues that dominated viewership for several decades obviously saw a major decrease in ratings during the pandemic for obvious reasons. And this is not true, however, for women's sports. Major women's sporting events saw a significant increase, going back to what Odessa was saying, in ratings, in viewership, in just attention across the board. And I want to hear from you ladies a comment on this concept. If this will help develop women's sports for the years to come. What are your thoughts? And why don't I start with Odessa, since I just cut you off because I had to interject.
No, so the momentum is there. Listen, when this pandemic hit and things started to hit a level playing field, meaning that we all had to hustle, we all had to get it out of the mud, women were ready. Women's sports was already there. We didn't have to learn how to be entrepreneurial or how to get fans to watch us. That is our reality. We had already figured out different mechanisms to get someone to pay attention to our sport. We had already figured out how to market ourselves and tell our own stories because no one was telling it. Now that's hot. Now the overproduced thing is not what's hot, right? And that won't change because stories sell. Content is queen. And so I think all that is left is the dollar. Let me get a camera. You give me $1 million. I am a multiplier. I am a woman. I am going to multiply it. So that's all that's left is the investment. Every woman sitting here on this panel, that is all that is left. We have proven, particularly in a pandemic, that we can hustle and get people to watch, that we can create what the champ is doing. We can create our own events, right? There's different ways for people to watch it. The fans want to see it. Now all we need is the dollar. So I think what this pandemic has proven is that the investment needs to come next. Cut the check, man. Write the check and I'll show you. Cut the check.
Clarissa, March 5th is around the corner. What is next for you?
March 5th, I'm hoping that, we have a great event. I'm going to have a great fight, that everybody tune in to the fight. And we get some great numbers and we have a great performance. And then after that, just looking to do some MMA in June and then some more boxing toward the end of the year. So going to be a pretty busy year. I'm being in front of a lot of TV, a lot of networks. I have ESPN is doing a docu-series on me, like an 6-part docu-series.
All righty, then best of luck. I know you're going to do fantastic, and thank you for your time, and see you March 5th.
I live for your energy. Live.
This is every day, I don't know how else to be.
And I'm why don't you come up, AJ? What's next for you?
Yeah, what's next for me is just continuing to build my brand, continue to build the brand of softball in general, and continue to motivate women in sports and all different athletes. And so I'm just really excited. I actually am starting a podcast. It's called BBW, Barrier Breaking Women, where I hope to continue to speak with amazing women such as Clarissa, is actually Black and brown women or minority women who are succeeding, and the unique experiences that we have to do or go through, and the hurdles we have to overcome in order to succeed on top of already just being women. So really excited for that to come out and for you to hear about all the amazing women in sports doing amazing things despite the odds.
Don't forget to share that information. I love podcasts. I'm an avid consumer. So thank you for joining us. And we look forward to seeing your success and your bright star just shining through. And also, we need to talk to Jackie. Your racing team made history. This was the past month of November when the team became the first female-owned team to secure a first place podium. And this was obviously historical in the IMSA racing. And how do you intend to continue this progress in your team?
Well, I mean, for me, it's just this continued fight to find the support to make it out to the grid. If I field my car in IndyCar and field Catherine Legg, I'll be the first in the 105 years of the history of the series to actually have a woman owner field a woman professional driver. So I'm fighting to climb to that role, and it's definitely challenging. But the other thing that's next for me is connecting with all of you after this, because there's so many great things going on, and I see so much opportunity. And the other next thing for me is I cannot wait to see you fight Clarissa. I can't wait to buy my ticket.
I'm very excited. I look forward to supporting you guys too, and definitely showing up at Indy. Just promise me I'll be able to change some tires. Just,
I'm gonna make it happen, and it's gonna be important for all of you to be beside me.
Yes, yes, yes. And Odessa, the Women's National Football Conference is going to start back up in May of this year. What's next for you?
May 1st. We canceled our season in 2020. We had huge momentum. We have women who haven't played tackle football in almost 2 years. So we're about to make a movie. But before that, I'm going to make sure that you have my commitment right now, Clarissa, to promote your fight from our league's sites. I can't wait to go blast a note out to the thousands of women's and hundreds of coaches that are a part of the league and let them all know about what's going on. So we will definitely be tuned in to watching you fight, watching you destroy somebody on the field. But what's next for me? I mean, we have some awesome stuff coming on. We just signed up with Bose as a new sponsor of the WNFC, so that was a big deal. We have our first global distribution on Vire Network, so our games are going to be globally distributed. So that's a big deal for us. But May 1st is a big thing. We have a magazine coming out for girls because we feel like, to your point, if you can't see it, you can't be it. So the first ever women's tackle football magazine we have coming out, calling her magazine. So we're just trying to do things, again, to empower ourselves to get sport in front of girls and women. But May 1st is our big one, right? Getting that game and launching our season. And then you are all invited the weekend of August 6th, to our national championship here in Dallas, Texas, hosted at the University of North Texas. COVID be damned, we're going to have it. So I would chant when you bring all those belts that you're going to win on March 5th. And
I got you. I'm thinking about August 6th right now. Like, okay, got to make sure I bring my football gear so they know I'm serious.
Bring your stuff. But
I get to do the coin toss. The coin toss.
You signed up. You got it. But that's what's going on. Thank you all for having me. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you, ladies. This has been definitely enlightening and entertaining. The passion, the energy coming from all of you as a collective panel has been inspiring. Thank you all for your time. These women have all taken control of their own destiny, especially through the recent hard times, but throughout their entire careers. It's been amazing. It is very important to recognize these figures for making an opportunity where there wasn't one, and that was not too long ago. So thank you very much, both for themselves and for the generations to come. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the inspiration. Again, Clarissa Shields will be taking on Marie-Eve DeCarie March 5th on pay-per-view, historical, first time in 20 years. That fight can be seen on Fight Pay-Per-View. Thank you to WBC Talks. It's always a pleasure. Our sponsors. And well, to find out more about She Is Sports or to join She Is Nation, visit their website at www.sheissports.com. I'm Claudia Trejos, and thank you very much for joining us and for watching. Till next time.